them? What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis?
We will take them back to Russia, where they came from. I don't condemn Hamas. I support
Do you condemn?
I support
Do you condemn?
I support Hamas.
I know, a terrorist supporter. What should happen is that our country should deport people like you. So no, I'd like to talk to you now. You heckled me.
I don't.
No. You heckled me. I want to talk to you. What about the Muslims who invaded other people's lands and enslaved them by the millions? What about the conquest of Egypt? What about the bombing of Christian churches in Pakistan? What about the bombing of Christian churches in Baghdad? Why? No.
I dare you.
No, well, you can stand off camera if you want to. You just spent time heckling me. Now I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you. Why are you scared of talking on camera? You were willing to heckle me. You were willing to heckle me. Why not debate on camera? Why not? Why you're afraid? Why are you suddenly frightened? Why are you suddenly frightened? What about the Islamic slave trade? What about the Islamic persecution of Christians? Yeah. What about the indigenous of Africa that were Arabized? Have you forgot about those? You went to heckle me about the indigenous of Canada. What about the Nubians of Egypt? What about the Nubians of Sudan? What about the Assyrians? What about the Assyrians of Baghdad? What about the Assyrians of Baghdad? What about the Assyrians of Baghdad?
Don't take my camera. I don't want you to.
You wanted to debate. You heckled me over there. You heckled me over there. You wanted to talk about indigenous. So let's talk about the indigenous of South Sudan. What about the indigenous of South Sudan? Make me. 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 Heckle me again, I'll follow you again. Are you? This is what your religion has done to your mind. Look at what your religion. What about the thousands that have died at the hands of jihadis? What about the thousands that have died at the hands of jihadis? How conceited are you in your supremacism? Look at how Islam makes you behave. Make me. Look at what Islam makes you do.
I'll talk to you then.
Yeah, it'll go up and I'll see you when I see you. It'll go up. I guarantee this video is going up. I guarantee this video is going up. What about the Nubians and the Assyrians and the Armenians and the Greeks and the Romanians and the Hungarians and the Greeks and the Berbers? Don't talk to me about the indigenous of Canada. I condemn the persecution of Christians by Hamas. I condemn. I don't need to jump through your hoops.
Because last time
I don't need to jump through your hoops.
I spoke to you last time. You said you follow the American version of the Bible, and America is supporting Israel.
Where have I ever said that?
Palestinians.
Where have I ever said that? You see, you have to lie.
You call them goyim.
The first words that have come out of your mouth are lies.
You are a liar.
Now I wonder why you had to lie. I wonder why you had to lie. The Messiah came 2,000 years ago.
Israel is waiting for them. America is waiting for them. The Messiah in our book is the Antichrist. Jesus will kill the Antichrist in blood. The date of blood.
So do you condemn Hamas's persecution of Hamas? He doesn't condemn Hamas's persecution of Christians. He does not condemn Hamas's persecution of Christians. That's what he just said. That's what he just said. He does not condemn Hamas's persecution of Christians. What about, do you condemn the Muslims Brotherhood's persecution of Christians? Do you condemn the Muslim Brotherhood's persecution of Christians in Egypt? He doesn't condemn. He doesn't condemn. He doesn't condemn.
Do you mean Hamas? Who do you mean?
Do you condemn?
I don't condemn Hamas. I support
Do you
Hamas.
condemn?
I support
Do
Hamas.
you condemn?
I support Hamas.
I know a terrorist supporter. A terrorist supporter.
You are the terrorist. You are the terrorist.
And if they're willing to support terrorism abroad, they will be willing to support terrorism in the UK.
Everybody else will steal it.
Do you condemn? Do you condemn? Do you condemn?
Brother, I have a question. Why do you support Hamas?
I support Hamas, of course.
Why?
They're defending Palestinians against ethnic cleansing.
And they are persecuting Christians.
No.
They are persecuting Christians in Palestine, and the Muslims will not condemn it. They do not condemn terrorism abroad, so they will support terrorism here. The logic is inescapable.
Israelis are stealing Palestinians.
He does not condemn the Muslim Brotherhood that persecutes Christians in Egypt. Do you condemn? Do you condemn the Fulani Muslims who are killing Christians in Nigeria? Do you condemn them? Do you condemn them? Do you condemn them? Do you condemn them? Do you condemn them?
No, I'm not going to defend. I'm going to attack you.
So, do you condemn Fulani Muslims who are killing Christians in Nigeria?
No, we're talking about Palestine.
Do you condemn them?
We're talking about
Do you condemn them?
We don't talk about Nigeria.
What about Janjaweed Muslims who are killing Christians in South Sudan? Do you condemn them? Lies, he says. Lies, he says. Go and check. Go and check. Go and check. Do you condemn from Hamas? From Hamas? From Hamas? From Hamas? From Hamas? From Hamas?
We're going to unite as Sunni and Shia. We're going to stand against Israelis.
And what will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with them? What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis?
We will take them back to Russia, where they came from.
There you go! On camera! He has just advocated the genocide of 6 million Jews in Israel! That's what he just said! We will kick them back to Russia, he said. Ethnic cleansing is what he just said.
Give them an option to leave.
And what about the Americans? What will you do with the Americans?
I hope a stone hit them.
Yeah, I hope a stone will hit them. He hopes the Americans are destroyed. He hopes the Israelis are destroyed. This is the hatred of the pro-Palestinian movement.
Israel have nothing to do with Jews.
This is what he's doing. He just called for the destruction of 12 or 6, I don't even know the population of Israel. But he called for their elimination and their removal from the Middle East. That is what he just said. Right, now let me expose him for the hypocrite he is. I'm going to expose you now as a hypocrite. I expose you now as a hypocrite. Do you condemn? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Did you hear that? Yes, I do. Yes, there you go. And that's the difference between me and you. That's the difference between my religion and your religion, is I can condemn the abuses against Palestinians, but you advocate the annihilation of the Jewish people in the Middle East. That's the difference between the fruits of Christianity and the fruits of Islam.
Jesus is free from you. Isa is free from you.
So,
you have nothing to do with
you don't know anything about Isa. Firstly, his name is not Isa. His name in Hebrew is Yeshua, not Isa. Not Isa.
Are you a Zionist?
Not Isa.
You are using the
I'm a
Jewish.
Christian.
You are using the Jews.
No, you are using
taking
the
advantage of the Jews.
Palestinians
You are taking
to
advantage of the
justify
Jews.
your anti-Semitism.
creating a Zionist
You're using the
Zionism has nothing to do with
Palestinians
Semitism.
to justify your hatred of Jews. That's what it is. That's what it is. And America. And the UK.
Real Jews.
What about the UK support for Israel? What should happen to the UK?
First of all, not all Jews.
Britain, the British state supports Israel. What do you think we should do to
Will be
Britain?
defeated.
There we go. So you think that you should fight Britain, right?
We are fighting a war of self-defense.
Against
We are
Britain.
not attacking.
So you should fight Britain, right?
We are fighting a war of self-defense.
So we
First of all,
force
we are
all the
attacking no one.
Jews out of the Middle East.
We haven't attacked no one.
America should be destroyed by Allah send a meteorite. And we fight against Britain.
Sunnis,
That is what the jihadis and the terrorist supporters stand for, and the rest of you need to wake up. You need to wake up to these jihadis and these Islamists, and you need to stand up against them.
Christians are free from you. You are a Zionist, American Zionist. You will be defeated in the end.
Do I sound American?
You read the American book.
Do I sound American? This is how ignorant. This is how ignorant they are.
Zionist to me.
I sound Zionist.
You are a Zionist.
I sound Zionist. What does a Zionist sound like?
Somebody who is ethnically cleansing Muslims, who call them goyim, less than a dog, who believes they should kill all Muslims.
Now prove that I said any of those words. Now prove that I said any of these words. Now prove that I said any of these words.
Last week.
And I would ask you to keep your hands to yourself.
Keep your hand to yourself. Don't put your hand.
Don't push me. Don't push me. Don't push me.
Don't push me. I won't push you.
You pushed me a few times so far.
You don't push me. You
Right, let's take a step back. There you go, you're pushing again. Pushing again. You need to keep yourself under control. I know you're an Islamist jihadi. I know you're a terrorist supporter.
Zionist.
What should happen is that our country should deport people like you.
Exactly. You believe in the deportation of people.
You should be deported, yes. You should be deported.
You should be deported. You know why?
You should be
Why are you
deported.
here? Why are you not going to Israel? Why are you here?
Right.
What are you doing here?
So let me just clarify
You
something.
support the state. Do you
I'm
support
going to. No, I don't.
Okay, you don't support the state.
No, I don't.
You support American.
No, no, I don't. Listen.
support America.
You see, listen. Because I'm going to educate you now. I'm going to educate you now. Right. About what I believe. You're going to educate me about what I believe. You're going to educate me about what I believe. Because this debate is about what I believe. So you're going to educate me about what I believe. Please tell me what I believe.
You believe. I know what you believe.
What do I believe?
You told me last time.
What do I believe?
That you believe in the Christian version of America. So basically, in my
The
view,
Christian version of America. Stop pushing. Stop pushing. Stop. Keep your hands to yourself. I know I'm attractive. I know I am attractive. I know I'm attractive, but I don't swing that way. I don't swing that way. I'm not gay. I'm straight. I like girls. So it doesn't matter how many times you touch me. I don't want you to flirt with me anymore. Stop flirting. Stop flirting. So now the jihadi guy who is possibly sexually confused and definitely attracted to me is going to educate me.
I want to pass through. I'm just a Buddhist. I want to pass through.
Right? What are you touching? What are you touching? Why are you touching everybody? You pushed that guy, you pushed him, you pushed me. Oh, it's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's fault. Take responsibility for where your hands are.
I'm the referee. I'm the referee. Scared.
No, scared from you. Don't flatter yourself. Don't flatter yourself.
I'm a referee. I'm be warned. I'm an ex-boxer, so let's have it. I can throw them off.
It's all in the footwork. It's all in the footwork.
Let's have some peace.
Okay.
Go ahead. Level.
Yeah.
Do not come down to the level.
Let's two guys.
I'd like to see the evidence.
Go on, right, talk now.
Okay. So let's have a discussion. What I would like you to do, please, is to time it. He will have 3 minutes. I will have 3 minutes.
He's the ref. I'm the ref.
And you will decide when the 3 minutes are up.
Let's keep it respectful. Let's not be animals.
Well, try that. Try that. You try that. Yeah, practice what you preach. You try that. You try to practice what you preach. Right.
Well, who's first?
You decide.
Right, you go first.
Okay.
Right. When he reaches 6, that's it.
Right. So the guy said to me, he said, "You're a Zionist." I'm on camera condemning Israel. So he's wrong. I don't support the state of Israel. So he's wrong. He lied about me. His very first words were a lie. Because I am a Christian, I support the Christians in the Middle East. And I recognize that Christians in the Middle East are suffering twice. They are suffering as Palestinians because of the actions of the Israeli state. But they are also suffering because of the actions of Islamists that he supports, terrorist organizations that he supports, that are also persecuting Christians. And I want to point out to you that he said he supports Hamas. In Hamas's charter, they don't just talk about destroying Israel, they talk about fighting the Jews until the end of time. That's in the Hamas charter. So this is a man who's using the Palestinian cause to justify his hatred of Jews and his ignorance about the persecution of Christians at the hands of Hamas. I asked him, does he condemn the Muslim Brotherhood and their persecution of Christians in Egypt? And do you know what this terrorist supporter jihadi said? He said, no, I don't condemn them. So in other words, if Muslims are persecuting Christians, he's okay with it. But if other people persecute Muslims, he demands everybody condemn it. And I say, we don't jump through the hoops of the Islamists. We expose their hypocrisy, we challenge them for their duplicity, and we call them to a higher level of justice. The kind of justice that I demonstrated because of my Christian faith that condemned Israel and Hamas. I can condemn both. Why can't he? He's the one that does the time. And don't interrupt.
You've got 3 minutes, starting now.
Okay, I'm going to say, he said, I support the genocide of Jews and Christians. That's not true. We Muslims, we have taken in Jews when they got kicked off from Spain. We taken in Jews. We have taken in Jews when they came through the sea to Palestine. We took them in. Yeah. We never prosecuted. We have 1 million Christians in Palestine. Okay, we have 1 million Christians. Nobody prosecuted. He said Hamas. They said they want to wipe out all Jews. Hamas have no problem with Jews. Hamas. They're living there. It's the most highly populated area in the world. 2 million people in a small pocket. Hamas are defending themselves, and the Zionism movement is using Jews. It's taking advantage of Jews and Christians and European Americans. It's taking advantage of them by making them support a state that ethnically cleansed, that shed the blood in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. People going to pray. How can you shoot somebody going to pray in the Ramadan? And you have all the Arab leaders standing with them. All the Muslim leaders standing with them. You have Emirates now making a peace treaty with Israel. What peace treaty? They attack somebody praying in Ramadan in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Unarmed Muslims praying. You can go watch it on The Guardian, on all the news channels. And I've spoken to him before. He said he followed the American version of the Bible, which is and for me, America invaded my country, Iraq, and killed 1 million people. Ethnically cleansed 1 million people in Iraq. They said they accused us of having a nuclear weapon. We had no weapon. We had nothing. And in Palestine as well, they hit us and kill us and rape our women, and then they cry and they say we are doing it. American army used to use uranium against Iraqis. Uranium, forbidden weapon by Geneva Convention. This guy, he doesn't condemn them. So all I'm saying is that Zionism is an anti-Jewish movement, is an anti-Christian movement, is an anti-Muslim movement. It's against Muslim Christians and Jews. It's taking advantage of them.
You know what? After me,
and this guy, he keeps changing his side. He said in the beginning of the video that he supports Palestine. He's against Israeli prosecution of Palestinians. And then at the end of the video, he said, I'm against Hamas. Well, why can't Hamas have a gun if Israelis can have a gun? Why are they not allowed to have a gun and defend themselves?
That's a good point.
I know in West Bank, if you go to the West Bank, it's an unarmed area. Nobody have a gun in the West Bank. 4 million Palestinians, may Allah have mercy on them. we are too late to defend our hostages in Palestine. 3 million hostages in the West Bank. 3 million hostages, ya nas ya alam. This guy, he's saying he's against Hamas because they're using guns to defend themselves against Israelis who are using guns. War only bring war, peace only bring peace. If you want peace, take your guns away from Al-Aqsa Mosque and stop hitting the prayer, stop hitting the people who are praying in Ramadan, the holy month of the Muslim. 1 billion Muslims, 1 billion Muslims. How can you attack the people who are going to pray?
Meaningless.
Meaningless, he's saying meaningless, so he supports the killing of Palestinians by rubber bullets.
There's videos of Israelis pissing.
All I'm saying, true Jews are against, okay.
Okay, so guys.
Right, I want to take a break, someone can do the timing.
Okay, so I'm going to take my 3 minutes. So, guys, blood fire, can you time it?
3 minutes.
Yeah. Just get up and stop. Bear me a minute.
Huh?
بعد نص ساعة.
Just 1 minute. I'm not taking a mic, I'm just trying to get.
Oh, somebody else time it. Where's the other guy go? Okay, I think it's enough. Okay, you want to shake my hand? Do we go?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, nice to meet you then.
Yeah.
It's enough.
I'm going to reply. I'm going to reply. So I'm going to reply to this guy. I'm going to reply to this guy.
You can apply to the camera.
Yeah, I'm going to reply to this guy. So what you heard is I clearly said I condemn Israel. And did he listen? No. He just threw out more random accusations. And this is the problem with the pro-Palestinian movement, is it is based on hatred. And it is based on a conceited sense of the world. One that says that Muslims are always the victims, they're never the criminals. They're never the ones that do anything wrong. But what about Hamas's persecution of Palestinian Christians? What about Hezbollah's persecution of Christians? What about the Muslim Brotherhood's persecution of Christians? What about Boko Haram's persecution of Christians? What about the Fulani's persecution of Christians? What about the Janjaweed's persecution of Christians? What about the fact that Muslim Islamist networks are persecuting Christians in Pakistan? That it's illegal to be a Christian in Saudi Arabia? Stop allowing Muslims to talk as if they are doing no wrong. Call them out on their injustices. Challenge them on their conceited view of the world. Christians, stand up for your brothers and sisters in Christ. Stop being so weak. Stop being so afraid. Stop being so spineless and ballless. Stand up for these Christian communities that are suffering at the hands of these jihadis. These jihadis that Muslim that I was talking to supported and said that he supported. That jihadi that said that on camera, and I hope JC does a flashback, on camera that said that he would have the Jews, all of them, expelled back to Russia. What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis? What will you do with the Israelis?
We will take them back to Russia, where they came from.
Now imagine if anyone said all the Muslims of Britain should be expelled back to Pakistan. He'd be screaming Islamophobia. But then he had the gall to stand here and talk about expelling all the Jews back to Russia from the Middle East. And he doesn't think that that's anti-Semitism. This is the kind of conceited injustice that is the fruit of Islam and Islamic ideology, and the rest of us need to see it for what it is, and we need to stand up for it for what it is. Because if Muslims in the UK are willing to support Hamas in its fight against Israel, then since the UK and the USA support Israel, that means that that same jihadi Islamist scum that I was talking to will support terrorism in the UK and in the USA. If they're willing to support terrorists abroad, they'll support terrorists indigenously. And the rest of you need to wake up to that and get out of the cognitive dissonance that the liberal left-wing media has put over your eyes.